Murdaugh, KTM in the corner.
A dynasty collapses. For nearly a century, one family controlled justice in a quiet corner of South Carolina. They were prosecutors, power brokers, and legal royalty. When they spoke, cases changed direction. When they showed up, people listened. And when trouble appeared, it often disappeared just as quickly. Then, on one summer night in 2021, two members of that family were brutally murdered on their own property. Within weeks, the man everyone trusted, the man who called police himself, would be exposed as someone else entirely. This is the story of Alex Murdaugh, a respected lawyer, a devoted family man, and the center of one of the most shocking double lives ever revealed in an American courtroom. The Murdaugh legacy, power without question. To understand Alex Murdaugh, you have to understand the family name. For 3 generations, the Murdaugh family dominated South Carolina's 14th Judicial Circuit. From 1920 to 2006, a Murdaugh served as the region's chief prosecutor. They decided which cases moved forward and which quietly disappeared. The family built wealth through law, influence, and relationships that ran deep into law enforcement, the courts, and local government. In small towns where everyone knew everyone, the Murdaugh name carried weight that money alone could not buy. Alex Murdaugh was born into this system. He didn't need to build power. It was inherited. He became a lawyer like his father and grandfather before him. He worked at a prestigious law firm. He lived on sprawling properties. He moved comfortably through elite social circles. From the outside, Alex Murdaugh looked like the definition of success, but appearances were doing most of the work. A double life begins behind the scenes. Alex Murdaugh was living far beyond his means. Despite earning millions over his career, his finances were crumbling. Gambling debts mounted, loans stacked on top of loans. And instead of slowing down, Alex began stealing. Not from strangers, but from his own clients. Over the course of years, Alex Murdaugh siphoned millions of dollars from people who trusted him at their most vulnerable moments. Accident victims, grieving families, people who believed their lawyer was fighting for them. He wasn't. He was using settlement money to patch holes in his personal finances, feeding an addiction to opioids, and sustaining a lifestyle that was collapsing in real time. And no one knew. Or if they suspected, no one stopped him. The boat crash that changed everything. On a cold February night in 2019, the Murdaugh family's protective bubble cracked. Alex's younger son, Paul Murdaugh, was driving a boat while heavily intoxicated. The boat crashed, throwing several passengers into the water. 19-year-old Mallory Beach never came home. Her body was found days later. Almost immediately, witnesses reported strange behavior. Paul appeared drunk and aggressive. Alex arrived at the hospital and allegedly attempted to influence how officers handled the case. The Murdaugh name, once again, seemed to shield accountability. But this time, public attention was watching closely. For the first time in decades, the family's power was being questioned, openly. Pressure closes in. As the boat crash case moved forward, lawsuits threatened Alex Murdaugh financially. Discovery requests loomed. His finances were about to be examined under oath. This was dangerous, because if anyone looked too closely, they wouldn't just find debt, they would find theft, they would find fraud, they would find a carefully constructed lie spanning years. By mid-2021, Alex was cornered. His law firm began asking questions. His accounts were being reviewed. Exposure was no longer hypothetical. It was inevitable. And then, everything exploded. The night of the murders. On June 7, 2021, Maggie and Paul Murdaugh were found shot to death near the dog kennels on the family's Moselle property. Paul had been shot at close range with a shotgun. Maggie was chased and killed with a rifle. Alex Murdaugh told police he had been away visiting his mother. He claimed he discovered their bodies when he returned. His voice shook during the 911 call. He sounded devastated. At first, he was treated as a grieving husband and father, but investigators noticed things that didn't sit right. The crime scene suggested familiarity. The weapons matched guns owned by the family, and Alex's timeline began to shift. Slowly, suspicion crept in. The lies unravel. Just 3 months later, Alex Murdaugh reported being shot on the side of a road in an apparent assassination attempt. The story made headlines, but it collapsed almost immediately. The shooting had been staged. Alex admitted he had arranged it himself, claiming he wanted his surviving son to receive insurance money. That confession changed everything. Investigators no longer saw a victim. They saw a man capable of extreme deception. Soon after, his law firm confronted him directly. Millions were missing. Alex was fired. Arrest warrants followed. The double life was no longer hidden. On October 17th, Chief Judge H. Bruce Williams of the South Carolina Court of Appeals signed an order granting Murdaugh's motion to suspend his conviction appeal and send the case back to circuit court to consider allegations of jury tampering by Hill. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson asked SLED to investigate Hill as well. The Murdaugh legal team asked that Judge Clifton Newman be removed from this trial and all Murdaugh trials, stating their belief that he could not be impartial. Newman asked the South Carolina Supreme Court to remove him from the case, and they granted this request, issuing an order stating that former state Supreme Court Justice Jean H. Toll would handle the motion for a new trial and retain responsibility for all future matters regarding this case. On January 29, 2024, Toll denied Murdaugh's motion for a new trial. At a press conference held on March 25, 2024, Hill, standing with her attorney, Justin Bamberg, submitted her resignation from the post of Colleton County Clerk of Court to Governor Henry McMaster, the trial that shocked America. When Alex Murdaugh went on trial for the murders of his wife and son, the courtroom became a stage for decades of secrets. Prosecutors didn't just argue that Alex committed murder, they argued motive, desperation. They painted a picture of a man whose financial crimes were about to be exposed, whose reputation was collapsing, and whose control was slipping away. According to the state, Alex killed Maggie and Paul to buy time, to create sympathy, to delay scrutiny. The defense argued the opposite. They claimed Alex was a liar and a thief, but not a murderer. They said grief explained his behavior, not guilt. The jury listened, and then they decided. After the lower court's decision in January, Murdaugh's lawyers appealed to the state Supreme Court. On August 13, 2024, the Supreme Court agreed to review the lower court's decision. On December 10, 2024, Murdaugh's attorneys filed a 132-page appeal with the South Carolina Supreme Court outlining their arguments for a retrial. By statute, the state had 30 days to respond to the appeal. The state was initially granted a 90-day extension with an April 10, 2025 deadline to respond. On April 3rd, the state requested another extension, asserting that due to their workload, they needed additional time to prepare their response brief and review the almost 6,000-page-long trial transcript and other related documents. While Murdaugh's team objected, the court granted a 120-day extension. The state filed their brief on August 8, 2025, and Murdaugh's team filed their reply to the state on September 9, 2025. As of September 2025, the case is awaiting further direction from the state Supreme Court. The verdict. In March 2023, Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of murdering his wife and son. The verdict was swift. The sentence was life in prison without parole. In that moment, a dynasty that ruled for nearly a century officially fell. No influence could save him, no name could protect him, no power could rewrite the truth. The cost of control. The story of Alex Murdaugh is not just about murder, it is about unchecked power, about a system that trusted a name instead of the truth, about how lies can grow quietly until they demand something horrific to keep them alive. For decades, the Murdaugh family controlled justice in their community. In the end, justice caught up with them, and the secrets they hid for generations were exposed, one courtroom, one verdict, and one shattered legacy at a time.